everybody, my name is Prerna and today I am going to talk about one of the projects that is being conducted in my lab, and it is the yield and horticulture performance of tropical pumpkin in Florida. So everybody knows about yield. Yield is like how much produce you can get from a particular field in area. That is okay. But what does horticulture performance means? So here I have one question for you guys. Which one will you prefer? I will go for one. The one? One.
Two.
Two?
Because the seeds seem to be easy to go on.
That's a reasonable answer. The people who chose the first one, can you give me like one reason why?
Because it's not there.
Color.
Color, texture and color looks better in one.
So the color, the texture, the flavor, all of these attributes are the horticultural traits of a particular vegetable or fruit that we study before we send out one cultivar like into the market for the growers to grow and sell. So first we will talk about some statistics of squash in general in the USA. So here you can see that in 2022, Florida planted the highest area, which is like around 9,000 acres. Compared to California and Michigan. But when you see the yield per acre, it is lesser than California and Michigan. That is because the environmental condition in Florida is very difficult to manage. Like it's rainy, it's humid, and super hot. So that's the reason why the growers, they lose a lot of yields due to this reason. Even then, Florida was third largest producer of squash, which includes both summer and winter squash. And in total, they had like the market value was $216 million in the USA just for squashes. So now I will give you a general introduction about what is squash and where does it come from. So it belongs to the family Cucurbitaceae. In this family, we have watermelon, cucumbers, and other gourds as well. The genus is Cucurbita, and in total, they have 40 chromosomes. Here, as you can see in this picture, they are morphologically very different. They come in different shapes and sizes. Some are elongated, some are small sized, and their phenotype is very, very, very diverse. So among the 27 species, only there are 5 species that are cultivated, and they are grown worldwide, but mostly in the subtropical and tropical fields. They have a versatile use, and they are very nutritional benefits, which I'm going to discuss in the coming slides. But first, there are 3 main economically important cucurbita species. The first one is Cucurbita pepo, which is the zucchini and the yellow squash. Whenever you're going to the market, you always see them in Walmart or Publix, which you like to eat and buy. And the other one is Cucurbita maxima. So these are known as giant pumpkin. These are usually grown for like the competition, like whichever one is going to weigh the highest, they are going to win the competition. So they usually grow it for this purpose. And the third one is Cucurbita moschata, which has the butternut squash and the calabaza. So today we are going to talk about calabaza in particular. So it is a tropical pumpkin. It is also known as zapacho. And the rind of this fruit is like, it's very hard and thick. And the flesh is usually dense orange or yellow in color. Because of the strong durability of this fruit, it is we can store it in cool and dry places for a long period of time. And they are a specialty crop with a value of $30 million in the USA. And among that $30 million, it's like $5 million in Florida alone. So what is the cultural importance? Like why calabaza is so important? So this is like from, this is very important in the Hispanic culture. So as you can see here, the Hispanic population is growing a lot in the US. Like here in Miami-Dade alone, more than 70% of the population is of Hispanic descendants. And in their culture, like the pumpkins, the calabaza, all of this, like they're used a lot to make candies, or there's one festival called Day of the Dead, and they offer them to their ancestors during that day also. So here you can see, like typically in a Mexican market, they will crystallize this calabaza into sweet candies and sell them. So keeping all of these things in mind, and because of its cultural importance, this is like a potential market for growers. So now for some uses of calabaza, it can be used as soup and delicacies. So for me personally, I have never had the pumpkin soup before. Here, students here like Livia and Julie, all of them, they were the first one who made the pumpkin soup, and that I got to try, which was super delicious. And it was from the calabaza that we grow in our field. So I know like they are pretty good so far. And here, here, yeah. And here you can see these are the flour of the calabaza, which is being used to make some kind of tortilla in Mexico. So you can use that part of this plant as well to make a new dish. And here, canned products, whenever you're going to Walmart or Publix, you can see that they sell the pureed form of calabaza, which you can use to cook different dishes. Yeah, the crystallized calabaza candy, and you can also use it for the baking purposes, like making calabaza bread. So you can also utilize its seed for like different purposes. You can dry the seeds and have a little salt and roast them and eat it as evening snack. And these seeds are also used to make the pumpkin oil. The pumpkin seed butter is a very good product because people who are usually allergic to the nuts, this is a very healthy alternative for them because it's not allergen. So people can consume this safely who wants to have like a peanut seed butter instead of a peanut butter. So these are like some of the vast uses of this one food. So keeping all this information in mind, this study was conducted at 2 places, Live Oak and Homestead. We used 9 different cultivars. So here you can see the UFTP 8, 22, 24, 38, and 57. They are the University of Florida hybrids. And 45, 46, and 47, they are the commercial varieties that we use as control to compare our varieties with them. Like if they are faring better in this condition than the ones which are already there in the market. So first, I'm going to discuss about the Live Oak 2020 and 2021 experiment that we performed. So this is the general plot layout of the calabaza that we used. So here we can see that there was 18 inches of like beds space between 2 beds, and between each plant there was 20 inches of space. So normally this is like a lot of space. So there is a reason for that why we need to give them this much space to grow. And you'll know here why. So when we are transplanting them, they're pretty small, but over time they're going to grow, and they grow a lot. For them, space is very necessary because if you give them more area, the vine will grow more and they'll have more food. So your yield will be higher. And this is when they were ready for harvesting. So this is how they usually look. So you can see like even here, they are like different sizes. Some are smaller, some are bigger. And this is how we cut them for like taking and testing different parameters, which I'm going to explain to you in the coming slides. Here you can see like this P58, it doesn't look appealing at all, and it is not used for consumption purposes. This is a kakai. We usually use the seeds to making oil and to make oil. So here we have the parameters that we test during this study. So the first one is days to male flower and days to female flower. Then we have the food weight, the flesh thickness, the flesh color, and the Brix index. And we use all of this parameter to calculate like yield per plot, how much yield we are getting per plot for different cultivars. So we measure the diameter and the length of this food. So first, days to male flower and days to female flower. So we can see that UFTP 24, which is a University of Florida cultivar, was the first one to have both male and open female flower. And the solar, which is a commercial variety, it took like around 60 or like more than 60 days for the male and female flowers to grow, which is a very good thing. Can you guess why? Why is it important for them to flower early?
Putting will be early.
Yeah, exactly. So if we have the male and female flower earlier, it means that the fertilization will take place earlier for that particular cultivar, and your fruit will grow faster than other farmers in comparison. So you will be the first one to go to the seller and, oh, my products are already ready, so you can buy them. So it will bring in more profit to the farmers. And this is how we measure the fruit dimensions. We take the diameter and the flesh thickness. We usually use this to calculate the internal diameter, which is this cavity. If we are using it for like eating consumption purposes, we don't really want this to be super thick. We want the flesh thickness to be thicker than the internal diameter. So the cultivars which have more flesh, they are better choice as for when you keep in mind what the consumer wants. So for internal diameter, the UFTP 38 had the highest internal diameter as compared to the commercial varieties. But UFTP 38 did not do so well in the other parameters. So we cannot just base our results on one testing evaluation. So here we have disease resistance in live oak in 2020. So it is a silver leaf. Silver leaf is caused by white flies. So here white flies are like everywhere. So because of silver leaf, it like usually it causes the disease to the calabaza leaves. They are not able to photosynthesize, and because of this disease, the harvesting time goes up because the plant they cannot give the energy which is required for the food to grow. So here you can see that solar commercial variety and one year cultivar 57, they had the disease rating of 4, which is like moderate to severe silver leaf disease. In comparison to UFTP 22 and 8, which was like super, they showed very good resistance to this silver leaf disease. So the food weight, as we can see, that not all of the foods are in similar weight category. It is better to categorize them like less than 3 lbs or more than 6 lbs, like small pumpkins and bigger pumpkins. So in this category, TP 24, 22, and 8, they had a very good weight for the smaller pumpkin varieties. And here, UFTP 38 was the one which had high weight. So Brix index. Brix index is usually used to calculate the soluble, dissolvable solid in the liquid. So like some compounds like sugar and all this thing. So what we usually do is we take one piece of the fruit and we put it into the hydraulic press and then we just press it. We squeeze out the juice and then we put it on the refractometer to calculate the refractive index of how much we are getting. What is the refractive index of this particular cultivar? And then we just look it through, they have a little opening, a little glass, and we just see like there is a scale from 1 to 14. And we see like in which level this color is correlating to. So the Brix index of like 7, usually 7 or higher, it's like good, it's better for the calabaza. So from our calculation, UFTP 24, 8, and 22, they had the highest Brix index, degree Brix, as compared to the commercial varieties, which is solar and China Dorada. And you can see here in the picture also that here 8 and 22, they look much more healthier and more appealing in appearance than the commercial ones. Now this is the yield for live oak 2020 and 2021. In the smaller size pumpkin, you can see that UFTP 8 and UFTP 22, they had the highest yields. For bigger pumpkins, UFTP 38 and 42 had the highest yield, which is the value per acre, as you can see here. And for the medium sized pumpkin, the commercial variety China Dorada, this one had the highest yields. Now we will discuss about the project that we did here in TREC 2021. So this is the cultivar that we used for our analysis here. And for internal diameter, UFTP 8 had the least internal diameter. It means that it had more flesh. So again, you can see that UFTP is coming again and again and again in all these parameters. So probably it might mean something. And then here for like days to male and female flower, UFTP 8 had the earliest male flower, but it was a little bit late to have the female flowers. And it's similar for UFTP 24, which had the first female flower, but was late to have the male flower. But when you compare them with the commercial varieties, here you can see that even after 60 days solar, it did not produce any female flower, which is like almost 2 months. And this is not very profitable for the farmers. But later I will show you the image of like, so how does solar actually looks, so you can have more idea. So here the flesh thickness, UFTP 38 had more flesh and UFTP 8 also. And here for the Brix index, again, UFTP 24 and UFTP 8, they had higher Brix index as compared to the other cultivars. So this is the yield for TREC 2021. UFTP 8 and UFTP 22 for the smaller fruits, they have the highest yield. And for the larger solar and UFTP 38 had more yield. And again, Canada for the medium sized pumpkins, they had it had the highest yield. If you see the yield here, it's like much lesser than the one that we saw in live oak. So the reason for that can be the environmental conditions or other factors that we have. So this is like TREC 2022. This is the field experimentation that we did in the year 2022, and these are the number of cultivars that we tested this time. We had more hybrid population and we had like more seeds. So we just grew all of them in the field and we did analysis for all of them. So this is like we are doing the bricks analysis, and this is just starting taking the weights and so in less than like 4 lbs, UFTP 8 had the highest weight, and again for the large pumpkins, UFTP 38 had the highest weight. Here, this is the smaller size pumpkins. So this is like less than 3 lb. This is JW 628, which is a commercial variety, and the bricks index. Here you can see that these on the top, these two are commercial variety, which is Waltham butternut and JW 6823, and UFTP 8 is our University of Florida cultivar. These had the highest bricks index as compared to the other commercial varieties, which is Dickinson and Solar. Here you can see how Solar looks. This is the commercial variety. But when you go to like Puerto Rico or that side, Solar is super famous and it doesn't look like this at all. It's like much more healthier, it's much more bigger, and the flesh is more orange. And again, it's because of the environmental condition, the kind of soil it is there. So these are also the variations that we have to keep in mind. That one cultivar which is performing better in one place might not perform better in the other place. And for yield here also, for the smaller size pumpkin, UFTP 8 had the highest, and UFTP 24 also. And 42 and 36 in the larger size pumpkins, they had the highest yield. Even when you check like as compared to the commercial varieties, the variety that we have from University of Florida, our cultivars and hybrids, they have higher yields. So after all this information, this is just my perspective. For me, I did the analysis for 2020, 2021, 2022, and probably for 2023 also. But so far, these three varieties, which is UFTP 8, UFTP 24, and UFTP 22, these are the ones which have a lot of potential that we can take it forward to be sell as a commercial variety. And you guys also saw like in all the graphs and all the analysis, these are the cultivars which is coming up again and again and again in better light. So we just finished planting for this year. These are the cultivars that we will be using to analyze. And later in this year, we are going to harvest and check for all these parameters again. So the future prospect. So this is entirely consumer based. So the packaging is current style is it is sold in cut pieces, but it is a very laborious and a time consuming process. Like you have to take the pumpkin, you have to cut it, you have to pack it, and then it requires the cold storage also, because otherwise the flesh will go bad because it is exposed. So and also in Asian countries, mostly in my country, I have seen that people have a bias toward buying something as a whole rather than as cut. So if there is a seller who is coming to sell something to me or like my mom, she's never going to buy a cut product. For her, it will be like, you don't know when they cut it, how they store it. So for her, it will not be considered like as fresh. Instead, if you give her one small whole pumpkin, she'll be like, oh, okay, this I can cut, I will keep it so I know exactly what I'm buying. So for her, she will prefer a smaller pumpkin as compared to the cut size. But here I have seen like whenever we are going to the market, it's always sold in cut pieces. But then again, if you don't have a very big family or if you're living alone, it doesn't make any sense for you to buy like one whole pumpkin. So one of the prospect can be that we can breed smaller foods which have all of these parameters, like they are sweet, they have good flesh, the texture of the flesh is good. But then again, it's not that easy to have everything in just one food. Also, we can breed it for better disease resistance and adaptability of the variety. So as I mentioned earlier, some varieties might perform better in one places and might not perform better in other places. So it is necessary that whenever we are using a new variety, we check that if it is good for that particular environmental conditions or not. Otherwise, it is just not profitable for farming. So the consumer preference, there is one group who is actually doing the study on the consumer preference area of the study, like what kind of calabaza people prefer. And what are the qualities or attributes that they actually want, what is actually important for them. So here you can see that the size of the calabaza, it's like kind of important, and the flesh color. And obviously the taste and the price is like very important for them. So this is like a separate research which is going on, and they have different consumer survey forms. They give it to the growers and the people who like buy these things also. We recently had a new paper, which is another group which is working on the qualitative attributes of these cultivars. So we are using like kind of similar cultivars. We calculate the Brix index, and they do some texture studies also, like the firmness, the hardness. And in their result also, they said the most promising germplasm highlighted in the study was UFTP8 and UFTP24, that they had very high Brix index, and in all other attributes as well, they performed very well as compared to the other cultivars that they used. So I would like to thank Sigrid Sai and Bob Hoffman for their data and for their funding, and my lab members also for always working to get the data. So if you guys have any questions or any suggestions, you can ask me.
Then, what about days to maturity?
So for calabaza in general, we give them around 100, more than 100 days for them to mature. So like I mentioned earlier, solar. In our field experimentation, they took more than 60 days just for flower. So after flowering, you start fertilization, and then they take 2 or 3 more months. So it's like a very long period of time. As compared to, even if it's just 1 or 2 weeks, it makes a lot of difference when you're talking about the marketing business. So yeah, so it takes around 100, more than 100 days for it to completely mature. The peppers, the cucurbita pepper, they are like, we don't let them mature fully. They are cut, the zucchini and everything, they're like immature. We only need like 40 to 60 days for them to mature, and they are ready to go in the market. But calabaza, like it takes longer.
Super interesting presentation. And I like what you're saying about the size, because I do think from a consumer perspective, that's a key dimension. So what I was thinking, and I didn't pay that much attention in the beginning to this, but is there kind of like an ideal size versus thickness of the flesh? Because, I can imagine that, there is some kind of a simple ratio there, that it's kind of like the sweet spot, that it's not too big, but it has a lot of flesh. And then the second thing is, obviously, I think Brix should be a key taste. But how do you test, or how do they test for firmness? Do you want something that's more firm, less firm? And then again, also, how does that apply to consumer versus processing?
So in our lab also, like whenever we are cutting them, to take all the parameters to measure the diameter and everything, we always cut the flesh and then we just steam it. And then all of the lab members, they come and they have a taste evaluation. So they have a scale of 1 to 5. And then they are going to say, well, this is the one, you just eat it and see if the texture is like nutty, if it's creamy, what kind of texture it is. So according to that, they measure it. So for me, I don't think like I'm the right person for this, because I don't like anything. There is only one cultivar, which is the UFTP8. That is the only one that I actually enjoy. The others are just not good for me. But yeah, Yuchen and Dr. Meru, they are more experienced about this stuff. So for them, like when they're eating, because they have so much experience, they know, oh, this is the kind of texture that people might like. So the study that I was mentioning earlier, they also have like a lot of people, and in their lab, I don't know how exactly they check the firmness. Probably I can read more about it. But yeah, so they see if you're eating something, if you're liking the taste or the flavor of that or not. But then again, you cannot satisfy everybody. Some people are always not going to like whatever is out there in the market. So yeah, it's like, and so I hope I answered that.
Okay. Just thinking of the growers, there is some factors or some related to the development size of the land, because I understand like growers like harvest down, I don't know, like just drawing or coding or so. In some fruits, I think that's important because you can hard damage the plant, you know, so there is a factor related with that.
Yeah, so here also like it's a vine plant. So your fruit is hanging through one of the pedicle and then your fruit is right there. So you can just cut on top of the pedicle and not very close to like the flesh of the fruit. And that way also it'll like it's better for storage also. So for the farmers, obviously they're not going to cut very close to the plant. So they leave at least like this much portion up if they are going to transport it to for longer distances. And when they are there like near for selling, then they cut when they reach their particular place like Walmart or whenever they're storing these. But yeah, when farmers are harvesting, they never harvest like through like very close to surface of the vehicle.
Is this also considered in the breeding program, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very good factor for us to consider for breeding.
I have been thinking about the consumers because in Puerto Rico, like my mother threw the seeds like in the backyard that they just grow, like not much else. And the ones she's getting, they are really big, and we are used to get it in pieces because they are too big. She shares them with the family, whatever. And when we get them in the store, we buy the pieces. And for me, I feel better like buying something open that looks fresh.
You can see.
Because we can see it instead of something closed that I don't see what is inside. So when you were talking about having a smaller fruits, it's like, do I want to buy that? Because back at home, it's different.
Yeah.
Because, and actually, we relate the size of the calabaza, and you can just buy the pieces, like healthier, look better calabaza, because it grew bigger. But of course, the color and basically we look at everything, basically, how healthier it looks, but the size kind of,
Yeah.
it's a different perspective.
Yes, but
And I
again,
don't know
like
the market for this calabaza, but I am talking about the Caribbean in general. We use it a lot, not just soups. I make calabaza fritters. They're very good too, and for many others.
but then again, this is a good point. If like you have a bigger fruit, you can sell it into pieces, so it will be more profitable for the farmers rather than just selling one. So again, I think this is like a very good point of view that we need to have the consumer preferences known, so we can read according to that.
Also have point about the size, right? You buy the butternut, you always buy whole.
Yeah.
You won't cut it.
Yeah.
It's small, it's not necessary to sell. So after we establish good reputation, everybody know it tastes good, they trust. If you buy butternut, you never worry about it, or the taste maybe not good. But you buy the other one, even the cutting piece, like you show the picture, if they are the color good, we thought that good, nobody buy the one greenish,
Yeah.
like a yellowish, they wanted the orange.
Yeah.
So it's orange color, so it's if we really have a good variety to release. If everybody tastes the once, maybe they know they will be good,
Yeah.
but they need to get a trust to that variety later.
That's also true, like Walnut butternut and the other one that we saw, JW623, they're usually smaller in size, so they never sell it as a cut piece, they sell it as a whole. But they have built up the reputation that they are going to have a good texture, they're going to be sweeter, so people always go and they buy that whole complete. So if we are able to, like, even if we are breeding for a smaller fruit, but we establish a reputation that, oh, like this is going to be a good fruit. So the consumers, they're going to really like buy the product. So again, consumer to consumer differences, it's something good to consider. Yes.
I think the squash that you talked about today is mainly grow in the summertime.
Yeah.
Is there a difference? You planted like on the plastic. How about growers? Do they plant on plastic or just there?
For me, like I have seen some pictures online, I have never been to the farms itself. But for me, I have seen they use the mulch also, and they just grow it in the field also. In India, like where I went, where there was like a pumpkin farm, there they are using it without any mulch. So they grow directly into the ground. But here I have seen more like they're using the mulches and then they're going to the calabaza.
How many like season like the crops like in the north, because they have winter time, they can grow like twice like, 2 seasons like in the summer or.
Yeah, I think it's like maximum is 2 seasons. Here we only do it for 1 season and then we just like have to remove everything because it gets super hot during the summertime. It's not going to flower, so there is no use in keeping it there. But if we are planting them in like late November or like December, then it's not, because in this condition here, it never gets like that cold. So probably we can manage to have 2 cycles. But in summer, it's like impossible here to have 2 cycles. But probably yes, in the north.
For the size, do calabazas, are they able to write them off the vine? Like if you want them for a specific, to cultivate them for a specific size, they grow them to that size within reason and then cut them and then they'll ripen eventually? Or-
Yeah, they do. So in Puerto Rico, there is another group there which is doing the same study with these cultivar, and there's a lot of difference there. So they don't let the fruit to harvest completely. They take it out and then when they're like just storing it for their analysis or whatever, the fruit ripens normally. But here I think last summer we let them in the field for too long. So that is also not good because then you have the fruit rot and because of the sun and everything, your yield is like going to be super compromised. So I think it's better not to wait till they're completely mature and then just harvest them before like their maturation period. So they can ripen later and then it will still be fresh and healthy.
That is what my mother does. She takes a look, she knows something about it that she didn't tell me, and then it's within a few more days. And she's not right, but she knows. And then she takes it.
So thank you, everyone. I hope you like my presentation.
Thank you, Prerna, and thanks everyone for coming, sharing. And we'll be harvesting calabaza over the summer, so if anybody wants to try it, which is Prerna's favorite.
You have to do like a calabaza cookout.
Yeah.
Harvest this summer, so all of you are welcome to come and have.
When is the harvest? In the summer, like early summer?
We just put them on the ground like 2 weeks ago, so we expect starting mid-June through mid-July.